Just start recording. Okay, so hello everyone, good evening. So my name is Vishal. I'm the founder of Learning While Traveling, and we do this startup night out every Friday with an entrepreneur to know his or her experience of entrepreneurship journey so far from the start to now, so that the other people who are thinking about starting a startup, or just into startups can learn from their experiences and apply some of them as applicable. So with this, with we have our guest for tonight, Mr. Naveen. So Mr. Naveen, uh, small introduction from you, and the very first question would be more like, what was your initial motivation of starting a startup? But before that, just give a brief introduction to everyone. Over to you, please. You are muted, I think. Please. Yeah,
Yes.
no.
Yeah. Thank you, Vishal. Thank you so much. Thanks for your warm introduction. So, hi all. This is Naveen here, and I am an SAP consultant, and I head this company called Mindverse Techno Solutions, which is basically an SAP partner company. So, we are into SAP education consulting, HR consulting, business consulting, legal consulting. Apart from that, I co-founded the startup called eventspace.com, which is likely to be acquired by Google. It's going to be Google's largest acquisition in Asia Pacific, and I'm the co-founder of Marky Monk, which is a digital advertisement company, and the co-founder of Agrofis, which is a marketplace for all agri allied products. Apart from that, I'm part of a social organization called Raudra, where we work on 6 different verticals. So agriculture, environment, entrepreneurship, education, healthcare, women empowerment, and youth empowerment. And we have a strong board. Like we have Infosys co-founder Sudha Murthy ma'am. We have National co-founder Kumar Veer. A lot of people part of the board of the organization. I oversee all the 6 verticals, and I personally take care of entrepreneurship vertical of Raudra. And in that, we have totally we have 38 projects. Into entrepreneurship vertical, we have 7 8 projects, out of which one among that is called the Startup Painam. So Startup Painam is an entrepreneur community where we are connected with 33,000 entrepreneurs across the world in different domains. We basically help startup growth hacks. So we help them in terms of leveraging the company from level 1 to level 10. This is what we do. And apart from that, we have a strong mentor network with 500 plus mentors, and we're building angel and capital investment network with 300 plus investors across the globe. So this is what I do. Anything, I mean, apart from this, anything further, if you have any questions or queries, we can.
Sure. So, Mr. Naveen, when did you start this? Like your very first startup entrepreneurship journey? When was this?
My first entrepreneurial journey was I started in the year 2007. Uh, so that's when I started my first. It was not a startup. It was like entrepreneurship venture. Like it was like a training company. So we started kind of training people on life skills and soft skills. Apart from that was when I was doing my masters, my management. Then after that, I used to work with Infosys, and I worked there for 2 years, and I quit my job and took up this company in the year 2011. So yes, from 2011 was my first corporate company, and I started this company. And apart from that, 2013 was when I co-founded my first startup. So that's it.
Yeah, and what was your motivation in 2007 to start your training company and all? Like, what was happening just in, let's say, 2006
Yes,
or maybe
yes.
early 2007 that made you start this training company?
2007 to now, there's only one motivation. Uh, what motivates me to become an entrepreneur is I'm a backbencher. So being a backbencher itself is a motivation to become an entrepreneur. Why I tell you this is because I strongly believe being a backbencher is the first qualification to become an entrepreneur, because when you are in a backbench, you should have um, you take risk when faculty takes up a class. You should have some guts to comment, pass a comment on that. So it's the similar kind of risk you should take on your business, so that is a quality of an entrepreneur. So that's
Mhm. So in 2007, I mean, you started this after you graduated or just in the
it.
college? How was this?
After my undergraduation, during my post graduation.
Okay, okay. So you are part-time studying, part-time
Yep,
working
yep,
on this
yeah, yeah, yeah,
company
yeah,
in your
yeah,
post-graduation time.
yeah.
So you
Exactly.
said you are backbencher, so you probably realized the importance of soft skills, etc., which are probably not so marks related. So I guess when you say backbencher, it's more on the marks side, not on the personality side. And
Yes.
you probably wanted people to know more about soft skills so they can at least nullify the effects of marks maybe. So is that something, what was going in your mind regarding this?
So, being a backbencher, we don't bother about the mark. We just take a, and we just think on only what skills we develop. So I am also a typical backbencher. So I didn't go behind marks. I went behind knowledge. I strongly believe wherever there is a problem, there's an opportunity. Wherever there is an opportunity, there is business. Wherever there is business, there is money. So this is what I believe. So this is how I operate. So that's
Okay, and when you started this soft skill training company, you focused on some particular soft skills like giving presentation, public speaking,
yes,
something like that.
yes, 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 yes.
And how did you find your first few students for that?
So first, I mean, we did it for students and corporates. So first set of students, we focused on tier two towns, and where the soft skills were lacking. So we targeted them. We provided our service, which was now we just identified where the demand is more. So probably we took it there, and that's how it happened. Yes.
Yeah, sure, sure. So I think maybe you can elaborate that. So when you say you identified where the demand is more, how do you,
Yes.
what would you suggest youngsters or, I mean, let's say your juniors who are, I mean, junior in the
Yes.
startup journey, maybe senior in terms of age or whatever, but junior in terms of startup entrepreneurship journey. I think a lot of people fail to find out the demand side of startup or the place where the demand is hottest. So in your case, especially, how did you find that demand, demand zone, which you should target that, your early adopters, in other words.
Yep. So there is something called product market fit. So if you're building a product or a service, you should validate whether it fits into that particular market. Before starting a company or a product or a service or whatever it is, you will have to do a product market fit validation. So whether this service or product is required for this particular market. So you'll have to validate that. Once that is done, then there is something called business model canvas, VMC. So you will have to work out on your VMC. So if that you have done it perfectly, then I feel definitely the business is going to be a success. Yes.
Sure, sure. But even with business model canvas or product market fit analysis, etc., people might think that, okay, this is my target market, or this is probably my target market. Everything is going fine. Let's say with that set of survey people. But when we actually start jumping into the real scenario, the situation might not be same, and price might be one of the factor. So whenever we say product market fit, there is also a price factor uh, involved there. So it's product plus price market fit rather than
Yes,
just
yes, of course.
because Mercedes, I guess everyone would want, but only few people can afford. So
Yeah. The product market fit includes the price also. So it is product and price market fit actually. So
which brings me to next question: how to price a product? How do you think people should price a product? Why should they charge 1,500 and not 1,600, or not 1,499 or 1,501, or at least
see,
how did you price your product?
how did I price my product or services? Like I work on an effort. So what is my effort or my team's effort which we are putting in? So we have different slab rates for different priorities. If it is priority one, it is so much dollars per hour. If it is priority two, it is Y number of dollars per hour. If it is priority three, it is Z number of dollars per hour. So that's how we work on, and we come up with an actual effort sheet. From that effort sheet, we keep on 50% buffer. So that's how we work, and we work with by getting 50% of the actual cost as advance. Then that's when we start working on the
Mhm. Sure. So let's say after you fixed your price, did you offer any incentives, discounts, scholarships,
Yes,
something
yes,
like that?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's why we are having 50 to 50% margin. So, so discounts or offers or combos, everything can be worked out on that.
Mhm. So I think what you mean to say is, if you have decent margin, then we can play around with all this discount scholarship factor, I
Yes,
guess.
yes, 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 yes,
If you
yes.
don't have margin, then there is
If you
very
work on a
no scope.
if you work on a thin margin, you cannot go with all those things. So a lot of people, due to heavy competition, they work on thin margin. Eventually they end up in reducing the quality of the product or service. So that should not be the case.
Mhm. Sure, sure. So coming to another big thing that people struggle a lot is decision making. And every day or very regularly as an entrepreneur, we have to make decisions, lot of decisions rather. Some days number of decisions can be one or two, some days it might be 10, 20. So it varies, but still there is always a regular decision making cycle going on every now and then. So in your case, or in your experience, or as an advice, uh, what do you think should be the timeline for decisions? I mean, should we add a monetary value or something to that timeline also? Should we be fast decision maker, slow decision maker, or what scenario we can be fast, we can be slow? According to your experience, what would you like to advise the
So,
youngsters?
uh, I don't think so. I'm qualified to advise, but I can share what I do. I am a quick decision maker, so I cannot wait. Before making a decision, I do a lot of R&D. But once I decided I should go on this path, I'm a very quick decision maker. I go on the process. So I will not wait for the opportunity to knock me. I create opportunity, so I start working on it.
Sure. But let's say consider a scenario, uh, depending on the what time we are talking. Let's say olden days, there used to be lesser options of things to do, like multiple choice question. You can think four options. That's it. When we have to choose our college, four options, choose one of them. When we have to choose our spouse, maybe also again four options, choose. When we have to choose our, let's say, job, again four options, choose. Now with the time evolving, that four options has probably become 40 options or 400 options, something like that. So with the time changing times, as we have more and more options, probably there is a bit of confusion that is also coming with so many options. So in this scenario, what would be your advice, or what is your experience in this, that when you have too many choices, how to rather narrow down those choices so that you can make the choice? I mean, the question is probably, if you have too many choices, then how to make decision quickly? What's your experience regarding this?
Mm. So we have to prioritize which is needed and which is not needed. So a lot of people don't prioritize things. So that I feel that is the problem. So if you are good at prioritizing things, yes, then this problem will solve.
Mhm. So advice would be, or your experience rather, is do prioritize things, and then
Things
maybe
and
it's easy.
yeah, based on that, which one is high priority, you work with that first. So you go with a quick decision with that high priority things, task which you are doing.
Sure, sure, sure. So another aspect of startup journey or entrepreneurship is this financial literacy, which as a undergraduate or in school, we are not so much exposed to. We might be just learning profit loss, but other than that, the cash flow management, how to foresee financial projections, etc., are not so well known to a lot of people. So in your case, how was your financial literacy curve?
This for my first company, that was a pure entrepreneurship venture, and second company was also an entrepreneurship venture. So for both, I started with my savings. Like I did not go for any other thing. And the third thing which I started was startup. So we bootstrapped and we used our own funds. And fourth thing, when we were just prototype, we raised investment. Like we raised $500,000 of seed investment, and we started building the product. And now the company which Google is going to acquire, so that also we've raised investment. So we've raised investment.
Okay, okay. So you said one company is getting acquired very soon. So is it like getting acquired fully, or there is a bit of
Yes,
a transition?
no, it is getting acquired completely.
Okay. And how long is this company, and what's the product like which is getting acquired?
As I am on an NDA with Google, I cannot reveal it in a public forum. But
Okay, okay. Whatever you can reveal.
It's going to be Google Maps update for 2025. Yeah. It's what the technology will.
And you as a, I mean, how long did you work on this technology
Since
before?
since 2017.
Okay, okay. So around 4 years of.
Yes, yes. I mean, for the past 1.5 years to 2 years, it is on pause. We're not developed, but we were just doing some customization as per the needs of Google, and now they're kind of getting.
Mhm. Sure. And you are running this community known as Startup Payanam, right? And are you like, what's this? Are you like focusing on some specific thing on startup in this community, or it's like a general helping each other
It,
community?
startup in community, generally we work with any kind of startup. We help with the generic entrepreneur community. But when it comes to startup in accelerator or accelerator program, we work only on sustainability development goals and agri-tech. So this is what is our core area which we work
Okay,
on.
sure.
Even
And
sustainability development.
how long? I mean, when did you form this community?
2016.
Okay, okay. So it's quite old actually.
Mm.
Sure, sure, sure. That's good. And you said, I think you have around 33,000 or something. Number is that?
Entrepreneurs as part of the community. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 33,000 is a huge number. And how did this number change over past 4 or 5 years? I mean, when you started, let's say each year,
See,
how did you add?
I represent a community over here in Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu called as Coimbatore Startup. So me, along with couple of our friends, we started building the community, and now we 6, 7 of our friends we started building the community, and now we are 450 to 500 entrepreneurs as part. It is a very hyper local entrepreneur community, and now we are 450 entrepreneurs as part of the community, and we meet every second Saturday. And most of us in that community, we were first generation entrepreneurs, and almost all of us learned business the hard way. All of us burnt our fingers to come up to a position. So what we thought is like we should create a platform for our juniors where we share our failures, and they start quick, fail quick, learn quick, grow quick. So this was the concept. So initially this was not as a community; it was just like a knowledge sharing platform. So what we do is like we onboard new and wannabe entrepreneurs in the first and take them to successful entrepreneurs places and get their experience shared, both success and failure, specifically failures and how they overcome that. So this is what is the concept. So eventually it started growing as a community and created 85 plus new entrepreneurs through this community. So they became our brand ambassadors. So they started talking about us, and they are one among all the 84 people are one among the top 10 companies in their respective industry. So that's how organically we grew. That's how organically year on year, month on month, we started building traction. We started people getting associated. That's how it happened.
Mhm. And how did this 33,000 divided among 4 years or something, like every year 5,000, 10,000? How is
No,
this?
no. Initial 2016 it was like less, but 2017 and 18 it was predominantly very high. At least uh, at least 25,000 of the people would have been in that 2 years. Then 2019, and of course 2020 and 2021 it is like COVID everywhere. So it is not only from India. It is from global. Like we work with ecosystems in the US, UK, Canada, Singapore, Malaysia, Israel, so Belgium. So that's how it works.
Mhm. So I think you mentioned at one point it's a hyper local community, but now
I
you're
mean,
saying
that's
it
not
has.
startup Ainam. That's not startup Ainam. That's Coimbatore startup, a different another.
Oh, okay. So this is more of a global
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
majority is India or South India or your area, but it has
yeah,
people
yeah.
from
The
abroad also.
predominantly people are from South India and the US.
Sure. And you guys like do some kind of meetup every weekend or something for this
Every
startup
alternate week,
Anna?
every alternate weekend for now through Zoom.
Okay. And do you have any membership fee or something for this?
No, 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 no. For now,
Anyone,
no.
anyone can join
Be
the Zoom
part
session
of.
if they are
Yeah, yeah,
like a
yeah,
membership. And how can
yeah.
anyone become a member of this?
People can get in touch with me so that I can add them to the community, so where they get communication about the activities or Zoom meetings happening, so they can very well be part of it. And for being member of the community, there is no charge, but if you want our help specifically in terms of raising funds or marketing or branding or something like that, any of the services or of our expertise, yes, we do charge, but it is not. We work on the two different things. Either you could pay it, or you could dilute equities to it. So that's how it works. So predominantly for investments, we work with the equity model.
Okay. That's good. So I guess you provide investment. I mean investment. Let's say leads, and also if someone wants to promote their product through your community, then you have some revenue charged by those people, and probably investment. There is a success fee kind of model plus or optional equity also, and
Yes, yes.
And so in this scenario, I think a lot of people might be interested to join your community. And I think, like you said, you're preparing a global community. There might be a lot of people who want to do business with your community, let's say, or with your, I mean, let's say one group, ABC group, might be interested in your community group also, to sort of cross collaborate or cross promote, etc., kind of thing. And I think with this pandemic, like the Zoom session and all, there is a lot of, like, we are talking to each other without really meeting. It may not be the same as meeting, but it's definitely better than not meeting. So in the last 1 year or 1.5 year rather, the pandemic and everything going virtual, how do you see this, your community getting benefit, loss, what are the pros and cons of COVID on your startup journey? I mean, community of startup Payanam,
Uh,
as well
uh,
as other things.
yes. For business, of course, like any other business, it is a big hit. It is not only for me, not only for my industry, it is for every industry, cross domain, cross location, cross countries, cross continents. It is a big hit. But when it comes to the community, yes, it was a great thing, because like we started, people started adapting technology prior to that. When we were talking about virtual conferencing and all, when we wanted to access people in the US and all, it didn't happen. People were not ready to take up technology, take up virtual conferencing. But now it is a cakewalk. So by 10:30 p.m., 10:40 p.m., we are talking business through Zoom. So people have adapted to this kind of mode, this kind of technology. So definitely that has been a big boon for, yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah. Sure,
community.
sure. At least the ice breaking is relatively easier.
Yes, yes,
Then
yes.
this
From
can be a,
anywhere, anytime you could access anybody. So
sure, sure. And I think future might be a hybrid model anyways. I mean, you can
yeah,
meet
yeah, yeah,
once or twice,
yeah, yeah.
and other times you can just follow up
Yeah, even now it
on
is
Zoom.
it is kind of a hybrid mode. So that as you said, that is going to be the future. Yeah.
Correct. And are you also, let's say, there might be some startups abroad, or I
Mm-hmm.
think investors are obviously there. I think most of the deals, not most, I mean, there is a particular set of investors who are staying in abroad, the NRI community, let's say, who might be interested in investing in Indian startups. Maybe a seed fund, a few lakhs kind of, or few crores also, depending on their capability. Or there might be another thing that there might be a somebody from foreign country who
Mm-hmm.
have a startup or something, and they want to maybe have a branch in India. So
Mm-hmm.
do you help these kind of activities also?
Yes, 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 yes,
Sure, sure. Because that's also something very powerful, I see. Because
yes,
India
yes.
can be quite economic in terms of the labor cost, and foreign countries are usually 5 to 10 times expensive. So there might be a settlement that, okay, we'll do it in 2.5 times or 2 times the cost of whatever the local Indian rate is, so that the Indian people who are working will earn double of what they will be usually getting. And the, let's say, the foreigner startup or the people who want, they might get the work done in, let's say, half or one third of the cost. So it's a good win-win situation for both sides. One side saves money, one side earns a bit extra. What do you think of this proposition?
Mm. No comments.
No, I mean, some people might be approaching you that,
Yeah, yeah, I
can
understand.
get me
Uh,
some people to work for me, or give me a soft landing in
yeah,
India.
yeah, but we help them. We help them set up over here and stuff like that. Yes, definitely. Because as a community, we have network all across, right? So yeah.
Sure, 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 sure. That's quite good. And this India ecosystem, startup ecosystem, there are a lot of youngsters who are like in school or just college, first year, second year. They are mostly thinking about startups that I'll do someday this that, but most of them uh, fail to even kick off that idea. I mean, it's like kind of a dream, and then one fine day there is like a job offer given to them on third year, fourth year, and then they say, okay, never mind, let me go get to this corporate life, and not think about go more of a stability direction. So in this scenario, do you recommend people to start young as a student? I mean, as young as 16, 17 years. What's your take on this?
Yes, definitely. Definitely they can. They should, because there are a lot of opportunities, support system from the government, both central and different state governments, for student entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs. So there are a lot of grants, there are a lot of seed monies from the government side. So definitely, if they are in the student category, they are eligible to attract all this stuff.
Sure, sure. And as a company, our company, Learning While Traveling, we do educational tour for startups. I mean, not exactly startup, more of a very budding as well as like the people,
Wannabe
students and all.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, wannabe entrepreneurs who are studying in school and colleges, and we take them to abroad countries, showing them a bit of a startup ecosystem exposure, giving them initial connects, so that later they can always think of preparing a global startup mindset rather than just a very localized version. Although they can start local, but at least they can dream a global startup if they get some exposure in the initial level. And also, this kind of exposure helps them even if they want a job in startup, maybe like let's say starting from co-founder, co-team member, and other kind of things. So in this scenario, I mean, do you see this exposure or this in form of online? There is a lot of times people don't realize the importance of networking. What's your advice, or your experience of this benefits of networking according to you, which you would like to tell our audience?
One simple word: your network is your net worth. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
without
that's true.
network, nothing can happen.
Sure, and contrary to this, I mean, statement, I see a lot of people even when they are in colleges and all, they form. I mean, not everyone though, but there is still a lot of people who will form a very small set of group of friends that okay, 10 people, that's it. I don't want any more people. But college might be the best time to develop the network with another 300-400 people who are your batchmates, senior, etc. So probably everyone should realize this importance of network, and that might help. Sure, that's good to know. Okay, anyone has any question for Mr. Naveen, or we're good to go? All good?
And Vishal, I must tell you, you guys are doing wonderful, amazingly well, because having so many people, like 12, 30 people at this point in time, the two women, is really awesome thing. Being part of being a person running a community, I understand the difficulties on doing that. So it is awesome, and anything, anywhere we could collaborate or work together, you let me know. Or any support for the members, you let me know. We can work on that. Yeah. Thank
Sure, sure, sure. Okay,
you.
Aritra
And
have a yes,
Aritra,
yes,
yeah,
yes, please. Naveen, you want to add something more? Or maybe Aritra's
nothing,
question.
nothing. We'll go
Okay,
with
Aritra,
Aritra.
please.
Sir, can you please repeat the motivation for starting up for becoming an entrepreneur that you said
Being a
previously?
backbencher, being a backbencher.
Backbencher,
Mm,
uh, can you please explain it a bit more? Why, how backbencher is related
yes,
to?
yes. See, we sitting in backbench, we do few notorious things, right? We when a faculty takes up a class, we pass some comments, or we do certain things, right? So for that, doing that kind of activity, that is a risk. So you take a risk. You If they notice you, you might be suspended or you might be thrown out of the college. But you are taking a risk, and you have that kick, right? So being an entrepreneur is similar to that. You should take a risk, and uh, so the same kind of risk. You don't know whether you're going to success or you're going to fail, but the risk you have to take. So that's it. Yeah.
That's very
So that's the first
interesting.
qualification. Yeah.
There is also a saying, future lies with risk takers, not security seekers. So
Yes.
people
Yes.
who take risk, there is, I mean, can go both sides, obviously, but there
See,
is
taking
always
risk
lot of
is
learning.
taking risk is a basic attitude. So
Yeah, and I guess as the highest level of intelligence in the whole animal kingdom, we should definitely take risk.
yes, yes, yes,
Because if we don't take risk, who are we expecting to take risk? So
yes, yes, yes.
that's okay, Mr. Naveen. Thank you
Thank you,
very
thank you,
much
Vishal. Thank
for
you.
your time, and we'll definitely get in touch for any collaboration that
Sure,
we might have. And
sure, sure.
have a good night to you and
Thank you,
others.
thank you.
And next week
Good
we'll
night,
have another
everyone.
guest. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, thank you, Vishal. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, guys. Thanks for patiently.
Thank you, sir.